Hello and welcome to this digital camera magazine video tutorial. Today we're going to take a look at perfecting your garden macro shots within Photoshop Elements 6. So first of all, I've opened up my raw file within Adobe Camera Raw, and what I want to do is just to pull back a little bit of the highlight detail within the petals here. I also want to make a few other adjustments just to increase the clarity and vibrance of this picture. So the first thing that we want to do is just to pull back some of the highlights, and we can do this using the recovery slider. So if we just pull the recovery slider over to the right, we're going to shift that up to about 50. And if we take a look at the histogram as we do that, we can just see how that moves. And the histogram is actually moving across the screen, and it's pulling in all of the highlight and shadow information, so it's just recovering some of the detail. At the same time, if you have a look at the petals, you'll suddenly see a little bit more tone come into the detail of the petal leaf, and we're actually recovering detail which was otherwise lost. So it's a good way, if you've got a few blown highlights, you can sometimes just start to recover those to give it a little bit more information. The next thing we want to do is just to increase the clarity of the leaves, and this sort of just subtly improves the mid-tone contrast and also adds some definition. So we're going to increase the clarity slider, which is new to this latest version of ACR, up to about 40. And we can just see the effect that that has. If I just click off the preview, and we can see how the detail in those petals in the background has really started to come through. Now the next thing we're going to do is just to adjust the vibrance. And if we have a look at the petals, we can actually see they've got a slight yellow hue to them, and I'm really going for just pure white for those petals, but I don't want them overexposed. Now this new vibrance slider is absolutely fantastic. What it does is to take a look at an image, and very similar to saturation slider, it increases or decreases the saturation of certain areas. But whereas the saturation slider will increase the saturation of all colours within the image, the vibrance slider will actually take a look at the colour content within the picture and adjust them accordingly. So if I take that vibrance slider down to about -30, you'll suddenly see the effect that that has. I've now got very nice white petals. It's reduced the yellow within the stamen bits here, but we've got a much more natural looking petal. What I can do now is increase the saturation of the entire flower, and what it'll do, because I've reduced the vibrance down, is taking that hue out of the petals, so when I apply saturation it'll boost those bright yellow areas but will partially leave behind the rest of the petal areas. So what I'll do is I'll just increase the saturation to 30, and you'll suddenly see the flower area just really sort of boost in nice bright yellow, but the petals have stayed a very nice white. Now if I take the vibrance out and take that back to 0 instead of -30, you'll see how all of the petals are now a sort of yellow colour. Just below the yellow of the top area of the flower, that's actually gone, that bulb area has also introduced some yellow, and the petals on the outer edges and shadow slightly have actually started to go a little bit green. So by playing around with the vibrance slider, we can actually get a much more natural look to the picture. Okay, so that's the basic adjustments we want to make within Photoshop ACR. So we can now open that into Photoshop Elements. The last thing I'm going to do actually is just to rotate the image 90 degrees counterclockwise, so we've now got it orientated correctly. Now I just click Open Image, and that'll take us straight through to the Photoshop Elements editor. Okay, I'll wait for that to open, and I'll see you in the next part where we take a look at adjusting the tone curve, dust busting and selective sharpening.